Hello, assalamu alaikum. Yay, I like seeing humans join. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Alaikum assalam. Zara, the real Zara. Welcome. Let me call you guys by name because I like to. Welcome Miss Maryam, that's my namesake. Welcome Fumilayo. Welcome Rukel. Okay. Welcome DF the fabric shop and let's see spicy. Welcome Hajja. I'll just call you Hajja. Okay, you guys are ready, says Zara. Brilliant. Okay. Whew, Alhamdulillah. I'm super excited to start today's session. Oh yay! You came with your notebook. Yes, Alhamdulillah. I hope you guys came with your notebook too. I hope it's going to I promise, inshallah, you're going to have the time of your life, inshallah, and stick to the end. I still forgot to learn how to do the whole viewer thing at the end. So Zara, I don't know what we're going to do here. You're going to have to give me a step-by-step at the end of how to take the screenshot with everybody's tiny little beautiful faces. Okay, lovely. Let me just keep calling people by name just to give others time to join. Welcome Deshala, welcome the only Malik, welcome the Faiza. I like people who write the in front of their names, you know? Sounds like the Oprah. Welcome Aisha Adams, welcome Zihar and Khadija. Welcome Jannah Ba 25. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, so today's session was something that is very close to my heart, if I may say so myself. It's something that I thought was very profound during my own journey towards just discovering myself, essentially, and that sort of segued into, you know, my wealth journey naturally. Okay, so today I would like to nice Zihar, welcome Khadija. Okay, I think it's 8 minutes in already, so I'll just start right away. We have about 13 people here, so yay. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about something very important to me, like I mentioned, and that topic I'm saving it for last, really, but let me just give it to you. So it's growing through fear, and some of you are like, oh, what? Okay, so it's a topic that I really, really love to talk about because you see, and you begin to understand the patterns once we get deep into the topic, the patterns and how fear actually affects many of our decisions, and most especially our financial decisions. Okay, so it's called Growing Through Fear, business and life lessons inspired by Musa alayhi salam. My wonderful, so it's my second favorite story in the Quran, the story of Musa, but my first favorite story in the entire universe is the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Okay, so let's get in. So we are going to have 5 sections, inshallah. I'm going to start by telling you just the intros, which I've already done, and then I would have told you my story, but I figured that I will tell you my story somehow in the middle of the whole thing. The second section would be where we take a deep look at fear, and the third section will be the 4 faces of fear, and the 4th section will be tying it all together, and the 5th section will be Q&A. So keep your questions, and it's going to be super interactive. The last time I did this in a different setting, I gave gifts, so I don't know. I might just give gifts, okay? But I want to keep it secret. So, might. Oh, yay! Aphrodine says, topic came right on time. Thank you so much. Welcome, Smart Finances. I always see you at my live sessions. Thank you, Smart Finances, for at least, you know, being human and appearing. Sometimes I feel like I'm talking to myself. Weird. Okay. So, guys, a little about me. I'm Maryam. Oops, that didn't come out right. I'm Maryam. I'm Maryam Shehu Muhammad. I am a Muslimah, wife, mother, daughter, sister, friend, and I would say a global citizen. Okay? What what else do I do? In my professional life, and at least professionally, I like to call myself, I'm an investment advisor. I help people raise money, grow it, and make meaningful impact to society. All of that, I make sure, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, is Sharia compliant. We only do Sharia compliant investment advisory. Okie dokie. Look, I have been battling fear my whole life. My whole life I've been battling fear. I have been, and notice I said have, not had, because it's something that I would never say I have combated, okay? So, and when I was much younger, the one person I was most afraid of, actually, now looking back, was actually myself. Because I would ask myself, I'm a wild dreamer. For those of you who know me, they know that my imagination knows no bounds. I tell different stories. I just conjure up things. So I have always visioned myself, as someone great, alhamdulillah, to this world. But then I would shrink at some point and, no, what would I do? Sort of like I didn't trust myself. What would happen if you became whatever you wanted to do? What would you do? Would you abandon your friends? Would your friends abandon you? Would you then, when I was much younger, it would be, would you find a husband? Yeah. And so many other fears. So it was really fear of myself. Will I still be a Muslimah? Will I still cover, wear the hijab, etc., etc. So that was one of my biggest fears. Okay. But enough about me right now. Let's go deep into the content. All right. So, story time. Who's excited? Okay. Now, one summer morning in California in 2003, Sheryl Sandberg. Okay, so I'm going to type the topic here. Growing through fear. Permit me. Business and life lessons inspired by Musa, alayhi salam. Post and pin. Okay. So one summer morning in California, Sheryl Sandberg walks into her boss's office to tell him that the project she had been working on had what? Tanked. Not only did it tank, she had lost so much money. Okay. Now, can you imagine being appointed the project manager of a company called Google in the, say, early 2000s? It was a very tiny company at the time. So what was Cheryl's option? What were her options? So first of all, she could have tried to cover up her mistake, okay? Insisting that, it was, the project wasn't well because of some other executive or, other people who had been remotely involved in the project were to blame. But instead, she took a third path. So she decided to say, well, you know what? She went to Larry Page and said, Larry, I screwed up. I lost the company money. So Larry's response, of course, I don't know if you were her boss, what would you do? But Larry's response shocked her to her bone marrow, okay? Larry says, look, the greatest mistake in life is to go too slow, not too fast. He says the company would never get anywhere if we spent our time avoiding mistakes out of fear of failure. He congratulated her and sent her on her way. And some of you are thinking, whoo, I wish that's my boss. Okay. Now, Sheryl, as vice president of sales at the time, went on to spearhead Google's advertising projects, which became extremely profitable. Of course, we all know. And then she later became the second in command in Facebook. Good. So, look, guys. Yahoo and AOL and Microsoft ignored Google's model in the early years, Google's advertising model especially, because they were uncomfortable losing their current income that, charged advertisers to get a higher rank on their search engine. But they knew that Google model would work, but, that model would eliminate an income stream that they were already used to. Now, by the time they were ready to adopt the Google model, Google had already won the race. Fear, Sheryl learned that day, can be the biggest obstacle in achieving a person's goal. If internet titans like Microsoft and AOL and Yahoo can be so paralyzed by fear that they don't act even to their own best interests, imagine how much it saturates the thoughts of business people, you and I, okay? Regular people, right? So, I want you to think about this very well, and I'm going to say it very slowly. When companies look back at their mistakes, the core of the problem can be often traced to fear. Now, can we discuss how fear paralyzes us in wherever you are, in this part of the world, wherever you are? So tell us how fear paralyzes us in this country. Now, I'll give you a few examples. It will never work here. Number 2, people don't have money. Number 3, now I'm going to say my own country. Nigeria is a hard country. Okay, those are some of the comments that happen, right? Tell us some of the comments that how fear paralyzes us in Nigeria. Tell us. Right in the chat box, okay? Can you give us some examples of how fear paralyzes us? I've just given you 3. Let's see. Hello, Azra. Hello, me. And if you don't live in this country, no problem. Tell us how fear paralyzes us in our activities in whichever country you live in. I'm waving at everybody. Okay, go ahead. Tell us. So the one thing I know, for example, good. Thank you. Hafsay says you can never make it. Too much competition. That's a brilliant example. Let's see who else has more. Let me see. And I'll give you. There are a lot of people already doing the same thing. Good one, dolls. Miss Maryam says they won't accept it. Fantastic. Good example. I'll give another one. The economy is bad. How many times have we heard that? Okay. Another one is people have more important things to worry about. Okay. And then another one is I will lose customers. I'll lose my customers. So these are some of the statements we tell ourselves. Hajja says fear of speaking up at work because you don't want to be looked at as an angry black woman. I know. Oh my God. I know, Hajja. Okay, I'll take 2 more. Oh, brilliant. Zara says my customers here won't pay. That's very true. So I'll take 1 more and then I'll just continue. We have reached the 3rd section of this segment already. Oh, nice. The first one was the intro about me and my story. And the second one was, my story time. Okay. Introducing fear. Okay. So the 3rd section is something I'd like to call the 4 faces of fear. Fear has 4 faces. Okay. Unlike you and I, we have 1 face each. But fear has 4 faces, okay? Society worldwide has adopted the culture of fear, believe me. And we all know that. You see, as though somehow it is okay and it is reality, right? Parents, out of love, tell their children, be careful, don't fall, don't go out there, and so on. Inherently, what we are doing is we're raising our children in a way that depicts, hey, you know what? Out there is bad. In here, home is safe. Inherently. Pay attention. Because I know many of us do this. Myself too sometimes. Be careful. Okay. There is rarely a mom in this world. I don't know her. If you know her, meet. I'd like to meet her. But there's rarely a mom that says, hey, child, go forth into this world. Hey, you know what? You may be hit by a truck, but when you are, pick yourself up, and treat your wounds and keep going. When you come back, I'll be here. Have you ever heard that? Hardly do we tell the people as mothers, and this is not just mothers, fathers as well. Okay, it's always out of love that this culture of fear starts. It started from our parents and continues. Instead of us preparing our children for the road, we prepare the road for our children. And this is not a blame game, okay? It's not time to blame our parents. We're all adults here. So here's the thing. I'll tell you a beautiful thing. The Quran has given us a powerful blueprint to conquer fear. And it has laid out the story of Musa alayhi salam, which is, again, I said, my 2nd favorite story in the Quran. Okay. So, now, one sec. So who is going to tell us briefly, you can tell us in like 1 line or 2, the story of Musa alayhi salam between the Sea of Reeds and Pharaoh? Okay, I'm going to make it longer, so just tell us in 1 or 2 words, and I can just piece it together. I'm going to tell you the story anyway because I love stories. Maryam says it is always don't go near the truck. Thank you. It's always like that. We do that. Our parents do that as well. So we shelter too much. Yeah, yes, we do. So the story of Musa and the story of Reed. So the lowest of the low, okay, the lowest of the low in society, the slaves from Egypt. The combination of all those people, few of them are on their way towards freedom, or what they call freedom, okay, from Egypt, from Pharaoh and his, rule. Oh, by the way, let me write that where we are now. 4 faces of fear. I'm pretending not to hear my son. He is trying to open the door, and if he comes, it's going to scatter. So, my 2-year-old. Okay. So they're on their way to freedom because you know what, they're sick and tired of Pharaoh and all of his but you know what, Pharaoh is closing in on them. So I don't know if you can see my hand. Pharaoh is closing in. Remember, they're slaves. They don't have any ammunition. They have nothing. Just poor people. And then as the dust from Pharaoh is approaching, just imagine that the Pharaoh is the mightiest army. They say that globally nobody can compete with what Pharaoh had. So that army is approaching. The dust is rising. Ooh, scary. Okay? And there's absolutely nowhere to go. Imagine if this were you. There you had Moses, okay, and his people, Musa alayhi salam. Imagine how terrifying that must have been. The children's eyes. There's the sea and there's Pharaoh. Oh, crap. It's very terrible. Now, according to the books of history, which we're allowed to quote as Muslims now, for as long as it does not blatantly contradict what's in the Quran, here's what happens when that happened, just before Pharaoh closed in, okay? And there's the deep blue sea. The people split into 4 camps, according to the books of history, right? Camp 1 leader, here's what he said. Camp 1 leader calls for mass suicide. And he says what? You know what? It is better to die by one's own hand than to be murdered by our former masters. He says it would be one last statement of free will and self-control. To prove we are no longer slaves, we must lift our knives to our throats to our own accord. I don't even want to demonstrate what that is, but because it's quite ugly. That's Camp 1 leader, okay? Camp 2 leader shouts him down. He's like, no. He says the moment of freedom is gone. Let us prostrate ourselves to Pharaoh again and return to Egypt as slaves. That is all we were, and that is all we would remain. Okay? Camp 3 leader says, he then raises his voice in fury and he's like, free men must fight their freedom. Now is the time to rise up and do battle with the Egyptians. Okay? He says, no matter how poorly armed we are and how inevitable the outcome of such a battle must be, let us fight back. And Camp 4 leader says, we did not free ourselves from slavery. We've never been in control. The only path is to remain motionless, close our eyes, and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, you've heard the 4 responses, right? The 4 camps. The people split into those 4 camps. Which response is most likely driven by fear? Okay? Tell me, which response? You've heard Camp 1, Camp Leader 1, who called for mass suicide, remember? He says it's better to die by one's own hand. Camp 2 leader says, hey, look, the moment of freedom is gone. Let us go back to Egypt as slaves. Camp 3 leader says, free men must fight. Now is the time to fight and raise our hands. Then the 4th leader says, we did not get ourselves here. Let us close our eyes and pray to God. So which of the 4 is driven by fear? Let's go. Let's go, people. Let's go. I told you prizes will be won. Maybe. Okay, so which of the 4 emotions, or which of the 4, okay, Zara says mass suicide, I think. Okay, thank you, Zara. Brilliant. Let's see, who else? Hafsa says Camp 2, that is let's go back to Pharaoh. Okay. Aduke says Camp 1, that says mass suicide as well. Okay, let's see. I'll take 2 more responses before I go ahead. Maybe Camp 2 as well, says Rashida, because she says you mean the one that says go back to Egypt. Okay, and Bakare Samiat says Camp 1, who called for mass suicide. Okay, Latsi Spicy says 2, Lailau Layla says 1 and 2. Ruki says close your eyes. Aphrodite says camp 2. Okay. Zara says camp 2. Okay, brilliant. You guys have all given it a great shot. Now, and you're all correct. However, surprise, all 4 of them were driven by fear. All 4 of them. All 4 of them were driven by fear. Okay, now I'll tell you. So, now phase number 1, the one that called for mass suicide, okay, has given birth to the phase of fear called self-sabotage. So number 2 is another phase of fear called fight. Number 3 is another phase of fear called retreat. And number 4 is another phase of fear called learned helplessness. Don't worry if you don't remember the names. I'll tell you each one. Okay. So fear number 1. Okay. Normally, what we do as human beings is we self-sabotage when we're afraid. So I'm just typing self-sabotage. That's the phase number 1 type of fear. Okay. Self-sabotage. Now, what does it mean? The first camp called for mass suicide. Okay. Everyone, let's kill ourselves. And it's better to die by one's honor. You see, while there may have been some sort of self-respect by choosing their own faith, the option was clearly not the goal. Remember? The goal was to make it out of Egypt into another place where they would have freedom and live a good life. So self-sabotage just seems to just not happen. If you kill yourself, you don't achieve the goal. Okay? Now, so people often, okay, people often choose to quit because of fear, especially the fear that they might fail. So self-sabotage is caused primarily, according to psychologists and great Gengen people around the world, self-sabotage is caused primarily by fear of rejection or failure. Now Musa tells people, remember the in the Quran it says he said inna ma'iya rabbi sayahdin, right? Yeah, my Lord is with me, he'll guide me. So according to the books of history, he's told them, number 1, the statement was, do not fear, stand firm and see the salvation which Allah will bring today. Though you see the Egyptians now, you will never see them again. Allah will fight for you and you will remain silent. Okay, that was his response. So when he told them do not fear, he was referring to this first group, okay, telling them that recognize that fear is driving your decision. Okay, so he recognized, of course, he had divine sort of inspiration. So he says, recognize first of all that fear is driving your emotion, and once we as humans also recognize this emotion, we will then have that, sometimes we have insight as to some of the decisions we make. Hang on, if I quit this business, or if I quit investing XYZ, or if I quit this, or if I quit this job, am I really proving some point to somebody, or is it really because I'm afraid of rejection? So rather than do that, let me kill myself of honor. No. Okay. Now there are other avenues to defeat this, inshallah. Right? So is it possible, do you think, for a business, now this is, remember, it's sort of a business perspective. Do you think it is possible for a business or an enterprise to commit self-sabotage? Do you have an experience? Have you heard of any? Tell us, share with us. Let's see. Hello everyone, I'm waving at you guys. Thank you. Do you think it's possible for a business to commit self-sabotage? I remember when I was doing this in another setting, someone says having an opportunity of monopoly or a new product and not doing it for fear of acceptance. I think that is quite profound. A lot of people have that fear too, right? Hey, Muslim style guide, salam alaikum. Okay, that's one of the ways that businesses actually commit self-sabotage. You can share with me some stories that you have. Another, write on the chat box please. Another one is someone mentioned the story of Kodak. Remember Kodak? Yeah, remember Kodak? Believe me, Kodak used to exist before your iPhones. They used to have those windy little tapes that you would put in your big camera that looked like the whole universe. And that was what we used to use to take Polaroids, remember? And all those things. Yeah. Kodak is dead. Gone. Self-sabotage. Refused to evolve as other people were evolving. Okay. Any other stories of how a business? Brilliant. Doll says, when a business refuses to adapt its business model to changing situations. Kodak. There you go. Thank you, dolls. Asake. Please, sorry if I kill your names. I don't know. I'm just terrible with names. She says, yes, it's possible. Imagine someone starts a similar product and you think theirs will be better than yours and you pulled out of business. That is absolutely right. That's self-sabotage. Who says the other person's own is better than yours? And who says you can't? The sky is big enough for all the birds in the world to fly without bumping into each other. And the sky is big enough for all the stars in the world to shine without without dimming each other's lights. Remember that. Rab says, yes, getting high interest short-term loans, but not taking on clients with more ambitious projects. Okay, I'm not sure I understand this actually. Getting high interest short-term loans, but not taking on clients with more ambitious. Yes, I think I see your point here, but I'm not so sure yet. Okay, thank you for that. Rashida says, when you see others doing well, doing the same thing you're doing, one might be discouraged and stop the business instead of facing failure. Yep, absolutely correct. Okay, so let's move on to the next phase of fear. Very, very true. Thank you so much, guys. The next phase of fear is fight. Fight. Okay, when people join newly, they would see, I've pinned fight, and they're like, oh, who's fighting? Oh my god, no. Okay. I make crazy faces. That's me. So the second group, now remember what they did? What was the second group? They said we must fight in honor and preserve whatever. Now you see, when we are faced with a particular adversary, and I have a story here to share about myself. Fighting back often seems to be the most satisfying option, especially in this part of the world. Do you know who I am? Do you know who I be? Excuse me, Raz behavior. But it seems like to fight is the best option because that is when you show who you are. That's what we do sometimes. Okay, but it even feels commendable sometimes. It even feels like, oh, hero, my hero. But let me tell you something. It takes enormous reserve of energy to fight. Resources are stretched and often wasted. Absolutely. Now think about it from a personal perspective and from a business perspective, from a money perspective. I know someone who gave a story, and she said that she ran a business, and one of her staff was basically in the business, and the staff learned and everything. Then the staff ran away and started her own business, the same thing, and then started to poach her own clients, literally. So before the staff left, she poached her madam's clients. That can be super painful. I can't imagine someone doing that to me. But guess what she did? And she was telling us with so much honor that she dragged her to court. She took her to court, and that that according to her, it is a good thing because at least the lady wouldn't have time to focus on her business because she has to appear in court at least once a month. Okay, congratulations. But you see, that whole thing also takes you resources, wastes your time, wastes your energy. You have to pay the lawyer. You yourself, I just didn't tell her that, but she would have to go to court too. Seriously. So who's wasting whose time? Do you see my point? Okay. So then when Musa alayhi salam says, stand firm, okay, he realized that the desire to get involved in a war was irrational. So he was telling them not to allow fear dictate their decision. He was effectively saying, this is the time to face your fear, trust in Allah and move forward. Okay? Not the time to use any of your fighting skills, which ultimately would drag you in the wrong direction. Remember the goal. The goal was to leave Egypt and go to the promised land, the land that was, free. Imagine staying back to fight. First of all, not many of them will survive. In fact, they're likely to die because Pharaoh would all kill all of them. Okay? So, can we explore an example of a business that also fell into fear? Actually, fight mode. You can give me one example and then I'll move fast because I'm taking note of time and I don't want to spill over. I have just about 2 phases of fear and then I'll take some questions. If you have any question, any comments as to how a business that you know has been marred by fear-induced fight mode, share with me. Then I'll start with the next phase of fear, which is retreat. So remember the ones that says, let's go back. Asake says Nokia. Did Nokia fight? I don't know, actually, but if it did, then yes. Thank you. Okay, so let me just go into the next phase of fear. Retreat. So the group commander that says, let's go back to Egypt. We were always, we were slaves. We've always been slaves and nothing to do else. Sometimes we do that to ourselves, okay? And Musa alayhi salam understood that the fear of them, the fear that they had was actually, of course, not again taking them to where they were supposed to be. Okay, so he reminds them that Allah is on their side, number one, and he tried to change their perspective. Imagine in those split seconds, all of these conversations were happening. I don't think they were split seconds, but a few minutes. So he tells them, he reminds us too that what, guys, take note of this. Fear drives our minds to overstate the threat. I repeat, fear drives our minds to overstate the fear. Look, once we realize that fear enlarges all potential threats beyond their true nature or their true proportion, we can then go forward with a lot more confidence that the future has so much more potential and the past will fade into oblivion. Okay? Once we realize that, fear just amplifies the issue. If you notice, remember the last time you were afraid, and then now looking back, you're like, it wasn't that big a deal. No. Okay, so Musa then reminds them to remember the strength that they had to leave the past and then move forward. Okay. However, I must give a caution. I must give a word of caution. When I was doing the research, I found this word of caution, and I really like to state it. And then I'll read the comment by Muslima Style Guide. She says, the caution, the caveat is, one must take educated decisions as to which direction is forward. Remember? Make sure your decision to move forward is based on proper understanding of what is involved, and the decision is backed up with real information and knowledge, not really gut feelings. Although sometimes our gut feelings are strong too. Moving forward based on blind faith may actually in fact be moving backwards. Remember? So, but very, very, very often fear causes inaction at a time when action is very vital. So, but experience is vital, but familiarity is not always the right guide when it comes to business or life. And I'll explain a bit more when I tie it together, inshallah. Muslima Style Guide says, so common. Same thing happened to a client. She was even unknowingly helping the employee equip the space. She started fighting and losing concentration, and her business started suffering. It happens all the time. I know it's painful. I cannot underestimate how painful that is. I can't imagine someone doing that to me, okay? But remember, it takes too much energy to actually to retreat, right? So we're not talking about fight, I think, but fight and retreat, they go in hand sometimes. Okay, brilliant. The fourth phase of fear, the last phase, before we go into Q&A, I'm super excited. Actually, before I tie it all together, it's called learned helplessness. Someone is throwing hearts at me. Thank you so much. I can't see the person, but hello, Black Soda and Maktab and Heligma. Welcome. The last phase of fear. Remember the group that says, oh, you know what, let's close our eyes and make dua to Allah. Okay. Now, they have a very good reason to believe such strategy would work, especially us Muslims. I'm sorry, but you know how. Make dua, my sister, make dua, my brother. Not a problem at all. Dua is, you see, but prayer motivated by fear with no intention of actually acting is futile. We all know that, as the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us to tie our camel. Tie your camel and put your trust in Allah. In this modern age, is lock your car and put your trust in Allah. Imagine just leaving the keys in your ignition, and imagine you bought a new Ferrari, yesterday, and then you just leave the key in the ignition. You're like, I got Monet, so no need to lock the car. Okay. My sister and my brother, you know the end of the story, right? So exactly the same as dua without any intention of taking action. There is never a situation in the life of any human that calls for praying while waiting for a miracle in your business or your life. Okay. Yes, thank you, Rabs. Even Hajar trusted in Allah, but she ran 7 times. Oh, this is a powerful thing. She had faith, but she took action. She just kept running. So the movement, the motion was action, trusting Allah would deliver. Thank you very much, Rabs, for that. Okay. Now, most often fear can cause us to be unable to act on our own. Instead, we demand that others act on our behalf. So sometimes when we're fearful, especially as bosses, we sometimes lash out on our staff. I expected you to do this. Blah, 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 you know? So this is what psychologists refer to as learned helplessness. Or we just blame it on our mother. If not for my mother. I've seen people post on social media that if not for their mother taking their savings, by now they would have bought Mercedes-Benz. With those small change that they were getting from, daddy's visitors giving them small change and stuff. Excuse me, with inflation, got nada. Nothing. Okay? But anyway, that's a joke, so I kid too. Okay? People who have had no control over their lives or have suffered abuse have a tendency to react to a crisis by curling up into a ball and giving up. Okay, now I experienced that a lot sometime in my life. Not too long ago, when I was considering mixing a full-time job with a business and I wasn't sure how it was going to go. I was told don't tell anyone because people are going to just stifle the business and not make it work. And I thought, how can I do a business and not tell anyone? Oh, hello, not going to work. So most times when I wanted to take action, I would curl up into a ball. I find that out of all of these 4 phases of fear, learned helplessness is mine. I don't know why, but I just stay in my room and I curl up in my blankie and I don't want to go out. It's terrible. Okay. Shutting down one's heart might seem easier than living through the pain, but just another form of surrendering to fear. Okay. Musa alayhi salam tells us to move forward, remember? And as soon as he moved forward, oh my God, I love the story. Remember what happened? The sea parted beautifully because Allah is Allah. The same Allah that parted the sea for Musa still exists. Okay, so the same Allah can do that for you and me in our own businesses, in our own lives. Okay, yes, so we've covered the 4 phases of fear, alhamdulillah. So I will just write them out now before I move to the tying it all together. We said the first one is self-sabotage. Oh my God, I don't know how to spell. What's wrong with me? Self-sabotage. I need a scribe. Can someone write it down, please? What am I writing? Please, help me. Write down the 4 phases of fear. Self-sabotage. I can read it out to you if you struggle. Okay. Now, what insights can we draw from the story of Musa and how does it relate to our lives? Yay! Thank you, Aphrodine. Thank you so much. This is a wonderful scribe. That prize. Okay, Aphrodine, I'll tell you what to do later, inshallah. Let me write down your name before I forget. Okay, so now insights for business with regards to with regards to fear generally, insights for business and life. Okay, competition is not your real enemy. Fear is. Competition is not your real enemy. Fear is. Choosing to follow the path of safety will cost you opportunities that will often be far greater than the potential losses you might incur with a riskier path. Okay? Now, when it comes to life itself, the payoff for mistakes is often smaller than what you may gain from taking risks. Okay? So making yourself small, the gains is smaller than actually taking risks. Okay? Allow yourself to take risks. Remember, it is better to be an imperfect achiever than to avoid the journey altogether. Okay, now, insights with regards to self-sabotage. There are cases where complete surrender is the right thing. However, these cases are extremely rare. So it's even if it seems like a compelling choice, get as much feedback from others to determine if your judgment is based on financial reality or it has been clouded by fear. Sometimes we feel like, oh, like the examples you gave for the business that saw another person come into the market doing the same thing and then felt, I'm gonna quit. When you speak to more people, similar happened to me when I wanted to quit my job. I spoke to a number of people, trusted people who had, of course, very little agenda, and they are like, no girl, you ain't gonna quit. Stay there, stick in there, and do the two at the same time until you cannot possibly remain in the two physically and mentally. You cannot be in the two, then you quit, which means I'd have to grow my business to a significantly large level, and then I'll quit, which I found was a brilliant idea, and I've been doing that for a while now. Alhamdulillah. Okay, now that's me. I'm sure you guys have a lot more experiences to share. So when it comes to, in terms of life, failure can sometimes be a welcome relief from the pain of staying in the game, but always fight that urge. Self-sabotage is just another form of slavery. Self-sabotage is just another form of slavery. Be aware that suicide is the ultimate self-sabotage. So when you feel like quitting, remember, make sure you're quitting for the right reasons. Otherwise, if it's just out of fear, you've lost the game. When it comes to fight, like I mentioned earlier, fighting takes energy that is often better spent being productive. Remember that fighting is a backward motion. I found this profound when I was compiling my research for this topic. Fighting is a backward motion, and there's a colleague of mine that made this analogy. He said, to take somebody down, to pin somebody to the ground, you actually have to go down yourself. I found that super profound, and that's true. Okay. Insights for life: always face the future, not the past. You need no longer fear the enemies that you have already conquered. Okay, I got this from one of the places I got my research from. Okay. Retreat. Fear sometimes makes us retreat, right? I'm going to pin this Roshida's. Okay, good. So that we know. Retreat is the next phase of fear. What are the insights? Fear makes the unknown seem large, like a death sentence, than it actually is. Fear makes everything seem larger than it is. Sticking with strategies of the past can hurt our business. The world is always changing. Live and manage the business for today and tomorrow instead of yesterday. And insight for life is always face the future, not the past. You need no longer. I did that. You need no longer fear the enemies you've conquered. Learned helplessness. What are the insights with regards to that? First of all, is a good business person never surrenders his or her business to fate. The moment you start blaming unseen forces, I'll give you examples of unseen forces here. The market, the government, the country, and I'm going to mention one, the cabal, the Chinese, okay? Once you feel the urge to start, Donald Trump, once you feel the urge to start to blame these forces for everything that's happening to you, that is the moment you give away your control. And what are the insights for life with regard to learned helplessness? Never forget that you are responsible to act. Others can give you guidance, but neither they nor Allah should act for you when you're capable of doing it yourself. No matter how strong your belief in Allah is, and others, for example, if you have, your father, your mother, your brothers, your siblings, your staff, they won't help you if you're not trying to help yourself. Okay. Now, my beloved brothers and sisters, we've come to the end of the session. Alhamdulillah, we've covered all the 4 phases of fear. We've covered the insights, and I've given you a little bit insight into my life. Insights of how to treat your business when it comes to the 4 phases of fear. So, let me hear from you. Let me hear your questions, and we'll call it a day. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Someone said something. The Faiza says, is there a one-on-one session? I have loads of questions and I don't want to interrupt or distract us. Oh, would you like to contact us? Okay. You can contact me on our website, even though it'll confuse you actually. But send us a DM on wealthparadigm.org. I am the chief investment advisor at wealthparadigm.org. So, and then I can answer your questions. But please give me your questions now. I'm ready to take them. If you can give us some questions now, it'll be great. Pin comment. So any questions? The Faiza, give us one question and then you can ask the rest afterwards. Okay? Once you have a go at it. Let me see what questions I got. In the past. Some of you are asking, well, does this not look like, what about reality? I know when I discussed fear I discussed fear in a number of places. When I discussed it, somebody asked me, well, but isn't that reality? Okay. I think reality, in my opinion, reality is very relative. So if you ask someone who grew up in the streets of Lagos, no, not the streets of, so for example, the very crowded areas of Lagos where there were absolutely there was no air, no electricity, or New York City or London, the houses were small and cramped, versus the person who grew up in the countryside where the vast space. Those two people can never have the same definition of reality. Do you understand? Because if you ask someone what reality was, they'll give it to you from their own perspective. Okay. Rab says, where and how did you find good business mentors? Thank you for asking. First of all was a man called Innocent Usar. He's not only a business mentor, he's something like a brother to many of us Muslimah sisters in those Muslimah circles. He runs something called Innocent Minds. It's a business. It's not a business thing. It's actually sort of like a human development type of thing. So I worked with him and a lady called Suni in his company, and that was the beginning, I would say, of my journey. Now I have so many teachers and mentors, you have no idea. The second person that I worked with, even though it wasn't direct, was Muhammad Al-Sharif. It was his visionary course that I took. Then another, who else? Books I read. I read a lot of books. I read business books. So most of the content you heard here from me now is from a book that I read. Funny enough, it's a book. It's a Jewish book, so I read everything, by the way. And it's not. So when I tell you the books I read, it's not for the faint-hearted, because I read everything. So the book I got the stories from was actually a Jewish book. So I read a lot of books, and one of I gave you some books, and at the end I'll give you a couple of them too, so you can read. Someone says, I'm conflicted with not fighting as to retreating and moving to a comfortable space where you can develop both sides, work and business. I'm conflicted with not fighting as to retreating and moving to a comfortable space. I'm not sure I understand. So you are thinking, you are not sure whether you should move to a safe zone where you can develop both work and business. I assume you live in Lagos and you want to move in Abuja. You don't have to tell me. Yeah, it always happens. But I don't know. I don't have much context, so unfortunately I don't like to advise just randomly like that before you quote me. But one thing I would definitely say is to really, really ask yourself 4 questions. Now these questions are very profound. They worked for me very well. So the first question is, who did I send it to last time? Let me see. The first question you should ask yourself is, what would happen if I made this decision? Okay, so you can say, if the decision was to move to Canada, I don't know, wherever, you'd ask yourself, what will happen if I did this? Okay, so question number 1 is, I think this is the last question I'll take actually, inshallah, before I wrap up. What would happen? It's so hard to type. Okay, I'll just call them. What would happen if I made this decision? Okay, that's question number 1. Question number 2, what will happen if I don't make this decision? Question number 3 is, what will not happen if... And question number 4 is, what will not happen if I did not stay? Now I know it sounds very, but I'll repeat it again very quickly. Question number 1, yes, thank you. What would happen if I take this decision? Okay. Number 2, what would happen if I don't take the decision? Now, let me tell you how to answer it, because sometimes the answers may be similar and you may think you're saying the same thing. The first thing is, okay, maybe my life would be better off if I take this decision. That's one answer to question number 1. You can have several answers for all the questions, okay? The answer to question number 2, for example, could be, one answer could be, so the question is, what will happen if I don't take the decision? Death will not happen if I don't take the decision, for example. Right? That's an option. Question number 3 is, what will not happen if I stayed to where I am? Okay, it sounds like the third one. It sounds like the second one, but it's actually what will not happen. Okay, and then the fourth one is, what will not happen if I did not stay, or if I did not make the decision. Okay, if you have any questions, chat us up. So let me give you my. When you go to www.wealthparadigm.org, this is where we run, it's our investment advisory. So I told you I give advice on investments, and this is my little remember, the Smart Halal Money Moves is supposed to be a series, so I plan to continue to give little nuggets, mostly around life and not so in-depth into wealth. But if you want really to focus on wealth and halal investing, and if you have questions, go to wealthparadigm.org and then select schedule. I think speak to an advisor or something. Book an appointment. Yeah, that's what it's called. Book an appointment and just reference Fariha, because if you don't reference Fariha, I'm not going to answer. I'm sorry. Reference Fariha network. Okay, so I'm going to give you because normally our appointments are paid for actually. So, but if you reference Fariha, I will give you a free session, maybe 30 minutes, just to gist with each other. Okay, good. All right. So I have had a swell time. Oh yes, thank you. What's my IG handle? It's called wealth_paradigm. That's not my personal handle, but because of what I do, it's my business, so I gotta promote it. So this is our Instagram handle. Our goal is to give Muslims access to wealth that lasts many generations. Part of it is actually a coaching session we're planning to launch very soon. So make sure you sign up to receive our emails, and we will give you an opportunity to join our coaching sessions where we can do much of this, inshallah. Yay! So thank you so much, Barakallah Fikum. Thank you so much, Afrodine. Thank you, Faiza. Thank you, Zara, Zakaria. For allowing me to speak, and thank you everyone who has come here. For those who couldn't stay to the end, thank you so much still for joining. Barakallah Fikum. Oh, thank you so much, Rabs. Thank you, Barakallah Fikum. May Allah bless you all, and may Allah continue to expand our horizons. See you guys next month, inshallah. I will be talking about maybe more about money on the next session, probably, so join. And Afro, yes, I remember Afro Dean Talk. Please go to our Instagram handle and send us a DM, and reference Fariha as well, and inshallah I'll get back to you. I promised something, because you were my scribe, right? Were you my scribe? Yes, you were, and you gave all the faces of fear correctly, so yeah, you get a prize, mashallah. Okay, thank you so much. Barakallah fikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The end. Now, how do I do that group picture? Oh, the book. Yes. One book is okay, so there's a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by this lady. I don't know. Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. That's just what I know. And yeah, that's the one I can think of. And then read the Quran, please. The Quran has so many gems, and you can go and become a student of Numan Ali Khan, like I do. He tells beautiful stories, especially the story of Musa. I watch his story night because I'm his student, so I have access to his portal. That is a beautiful lesson, and I picked so many nuggets from the story of Musa alayhi salam. Okay, what again? Numan Ali Khan book, and read Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. Daring Greatly. Okay, I told you last time. Bye guys, thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. End. Are you sure you want to end live video?